Hello and welcome to PMBR News Report with your host, Rusty McDonough. Today we're going to be talking about the Hayward Fault and its effects here at the UC Berkeley campus. Our special guests today will include Matthew Dixon and Bella Petrosito, as well as Patrick Brown. We hope you guys enjoy watching our show. Thank you. Hello and welcome to the newsroom. Here are our special guests, Bella Petrosito.
Hello.
And Matthew Dixon. Hello. Matthew's going to start with giving us a little introduction about the Hayward Fault.
The Hayward Fault is known to be one of the most active fault zones in the world. The Hayward Fault runs 75 kilometers along the foot of East Bay Hills from Point Pinole to Warm Springs near Fremont. It possibly extends to Rogers Creek Fault across the San Pablo Bay. It runs mainly along the western base of the hills on the east side of San Francisco Bay. The fault runs through densely populated areas including Richmond, El Cerrito, Berkeley, Oakland, San Leandro, Castro Valley, Hayward, Union City, Fremont, and San Jose. The fault motion is mainly right lateral strike slip. On the fault, there is constant aseismic creep and occasional rapid slips caused by earthquakes, especially in recent geological times. The tension that has built up over the last 148 years along the Hayward Fault is essentially a ticking time bomb to the East Bay community, and it is essential to understand how to be prepared for it when the big one comes.
And here's Bella Petrosito with some information about the tectonic setting.
The Pacific Plate is a major section of the Earth's crust, gradually expanding by the eruption of magma along the East Pacific Rise to the southeast. The Hayward Fault is a result of the North American Plate and Pacific Plate sliding past each other. The Hayward Fault is a hybrid fault, meaning it is both locked and creeping at different areas. It is a right lateral strike-slip fault. Plates intersect near the Hayward Fault to form a transform boundary, which means that the two plates slide past one another. The transform boundary, defined by the San Andreas Fault, is not perfectly straight, and the stresses between the Pacific and North American plates are diffused over a wide region of the West, extending as far as the eastern side of the Sierra Mountains. The Hayward Fault is one of the secondary faults in this diffuse zone, along with the Calaveras Fault to the east and the San Gregorio Fault west of the San Andreas.
Sorry about that, Bella. We have to go to commercial real quick. We'll be back in a couple seconds after this word from our sponsors.
Tonight?
I already have plans, but maybe tomorrow.
You got a hot date?
Whoa! Oh my god, it's this way. Let's run!
Ah!
This is not what you do in the event of an earthquake.
Yeah, this earthquakes class, working really hard. Really want that today.
I know, me too. I'm so super nervous. You feel that? Oh my god, it's earthquake. Let's get under.
These are the correct measures in case of an earthquake. Drop, cover, hold on, and wait for the earthquake to pass.
Okay, I think it stopped. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, let's go.
And we're back. Sorry for that, folks. Here's Bella again.
The complete fault zone, including the Rogers Creek Fault, is divided by seismologists into three segments: the Rogers Creek, Northern Hayward, and Southern Hayward. It is expected that these segments may fail by themselves or in adjacent pairs, creating earthquakes of varying magnitude. The connection between the Rogers Creek Fault Zone and the Hayward Creek Fault Zone was unclear until 2015, when a survey of the floor of the San Pablo Bay found that the ends of the two faults were smoothly linked between Point Pinole and Lower Tubbs Island. It is estimated that the Rogers-Hayward system together could produce a quake with a magnitude as high as 7.2, causing severe damage and loss of life with a global economic impact.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. Mr. Dixon, can you please tell us about the last major earthquake in the area?
Of course. The last major earthquake along the Hayward Fault was on October 21st, 1868. There was a 1 to 2 centimeters of slip. The surface rupture was 20 miles from San Leandro to Warm Springs. The earthquake was 6.8 in magnitude and killed 30 people. The earthquake was felt throughout the state and even into Nevada. In 1868, the Bay Area population was 260,000. There were no bridges across the bay, no freeway infrastructure, and no BART, Caltrain, or Amtrak. The Bay Area population now stands at 7.15 million. There are 7 major road bridges, and an earthquake of this size would likely cause billions of dollars in damages and displace millions of people.
I hope we're ready for when it comes. Bella, please tell us about the hazards associated with the Hayward Fault.
Fault creep. The surface of the fault is creeping at less than 0.5 centimeters per year in the regions of concern. The creep is sufficient to displace roads, curbs, and sidewalks. Another hazard is earthquake shaking. The magnitude of an earthquake, as indicated on a seismic scale, is roughly proportional to the length of the rupture. The ground motion in the region surrounding the fault is highly dependent upon local soil conditions. The shake map picture depicts the predicted intensity of the earthquake along the Hayward Fault at an approximate magnitude of 6.7. Much like that of the Great Earthquake in San Francisco in 1906, a major concern is the effect of fire and post-earthquake after effects that can have on the local surrounding area. Estimates predict that the shaking alone could cause an upwards of 120 billion based on previous damage associated with the earthquake in 1868.
Matthew, do you have any other hazards you'd like to discuss?
As a matter of fact, I do. Infrastructure damage. The Hayward Fault lies directly beneath a portion of Highway 13, the Warren Freeway. In this area, there are also lots of elevated street crossings that cross the fault. State Highway 24, connecting Oakland to Orinda, Lafayette, and Walnut Creek through the Caldecott Tunnel, is also at risk in the event of an earthquake. An earthquake may cause landsliding on some slopes of the freeway, posing a hazard to motorists. In the event of a larger earthquake, elevated structures including highway passes and overcrossings could fail, which could fall onto the freeway. Interstate Highway 80 is built on fill placed in the 1930s atop mudflats. This soft mud would amplify earthquake shaking, and the mud supporting the heavy fill may liquefy, thus sinking the highway. Highway 580 also crosses the fault twice, making it very dangerous in the event of an earthquake. Although the eastern span was repaired in 2013 after the Loma Prieta earthquake of 1989, the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge could also collapse in the event of an earthquake. An earthquake may also disrupt or even destroy other infrastructure, including BART tunnels, railroads, the Bay Area Rapid Transit, refineries, fuel pipelines, and water supplies. A 2002 study suggests that a major earthquake could shut BART down for 2 years. According to the Berkeley Seismology Lab, hazards include landsliding, liquefaction, fires, disrupted transportation routes, broken water and gas pipes, downed electrical and phone lines. This will cause many of the already in place preventative measures to become harder to implement due to the destruction itself that could take place. For example, hard to get to places needing medical or fire assistance due to the destruction of many transportation outlets.
Bella, can you please tell us about the probability of future activity?
Yes, Mr. McDonough, I can. United States Geological Survey, USGS, scientists state that a major earthquake occurring on the zone is increasingly likely. The next major earthquake on the fault will cause catastrophic damage and will require billions of dollars to repair. According to the U.S. Geological Survey located in Menlo Park, as well as several other reputable firms and associations, there has averaged 5 earthquakes with a span of 140 years across the Hayward Fault between 1315 and 1868, meaning one has occurred approximately every 140 years, making the approximated due date for the next big one to be at any point in the next 30 years. There's also a 30% probability that it will be greater than a magnitude of 6.7 in the next 26 years. 2.4 million people are at risk when the next big earthquake strikes, due to the fault line spanning 32 kilometers all the way through the San Leandro to Warm Springs, located near Fremont. Major cities such as Alameda, Santa Clara, San Francisco, Contra Costa, and San Mateo will feel the concentrated effects of this predicted earthquake the most.
Matthew, can you please tell us about the effects of the fault here at UC Berkeley?
Yes, there's consistent evidence of the fault's movements here on campus. Anything offset are all representative of the very slow expression the creeping part of the Hayward Fault has on a yearly basis. Even though this is a generalized approximation, all creep and movement vary from location to location and are also affected by the topography of the part of the area along the fault. To show its football field is sitting on the Hayward Fault, UC Berkeley made a crooked line in the north end zone's grass. The school claims that the stadium will be able to withstand a major quake, but only time will tell.
And now we're going to send it over to our expert, Patrick Brown, with more about the haywire scenario.
Greetings. My name is Patrick Brown, and I study the Hayward Fault at UC Berkeley. I look at disasters holistically by using shake maps, which are issued following an earthquake. The shake map shows a mathematical model of where and how much shaking occurred, as well as if there was vertical or lateral motion. I use them to tell managers and workers where they need to go during and after the earthquake. Through my research, I've created the haywire scenario. The events that will occur if there is an earthquake along the Hayward Fault. There are multiple phases to this scenario. Phase 1 includes earth and science hazards and improved communication and use of earthquake science. Phase 1 starts with ground shaking and continues with aftershock, fault slip, and afterslip. It concludes with landslides and liquefaction. Phase 2 involves engineering and its impacts, as well as making informed decisions about reducing earthquake risk. Phase 2 deals with structures and codes, as well as lifelines. It also manages fires following an earthquake and interdependencies. The final phase, Phase 3, is concerned with social sciences and consequences and can be characterized by building community capacity to respond and recover. It begins with a community at risk and environmental health. It also consists of early warning and forecasting in company with internet economy. The consequences of the big earthquake are staggering. The main shock in this scenario is a 7.0 magnitude earthquake. For this scenario, we assume that the conditions of the day are normal, and I predict that the earthquake will happen on April 18th, 2018 at approximately 4:18 p.m. The wind is mild, there is no rain, and is average temperature. The rupture starts out of the Oakland and runs north into the San Pablo Bay, and then south to the city of Fremont. There could be up to 2 meters of fault offset. These are the general conditions for the earthquake in the Hayward scenario. Liquefaction is a main problem that occurs during major earthquakes. It is characterized by water coming up from the ground as waterlogged sediments, close to or beneath the ground surfaces that lose their strength. In addition to liquefaction, aftershocks are a major concern with earthquakes because they can be up to or even greater than the magnitude of the original earthquake itself. As part of my Hayward scenario, there is also cause for increased building code analysis. More analysis exploring the impacts of earthquakes could lead to buildings being built to a higher standard. Increasing building codes would reduce impairment of 75% and prevent FPRs, future piles of rubble. In the Hayward scenario, we assume that there is a loss of power which traps 22,000 people in elevators. There are power outages that last for days and even weeks in some locations. Adding emergency power to new elevators can reduce trapped occupants by at least 8,000 people. Economic analysis associated with the Hayward scenario is also key. The damage to buildings, utility outages, and transportation networks will exacerbate the economic disruption and completely destroy local businesses. However, if we take collective action now to emphasize financial recovery and population displacement through the government, individual, and community efforts, we can better prepare for the next major earthquake. In conclusion, the Hayward scenario is a very real event that occurs when the Hayward Fault ruptures. There are many preventative actions we can take prior to, during, and even following the earthquake to allow for recovery. However, we must act fast and we must act now. We never know when this next quake could occur.
Thank you for tuning in to PMBR News Report. It was a pleasure hosting you today. I hope you guys now know much more about the Hayward Fault and its effects on the UC Berkeley campus. See you soon.